Well, let's talk about the latest then. Our international affairs editor, Philip Turle, is joining me here on set. Philip, we're going to talk about the truce deal first of all. Hamas says it's accepted this deal. What's in it, though?
Right. Well, we haven't got all the small print about this deal at our fingertips, but what we have learnt, or what has been told to the press, is basically that this is a three-phase deal over 42-day phases. The first one is the freeing of Israeli female soldiers and the release of Palestinian prisoners. The second phase would be the permanent cessation of the Israeli military offensive. And the third phase would be an end to the blockade of the Gaza Strip. Now, this is a peace deal that's been worked out in Cairo between Qatar on one side, Egypt on the other, and by Hamas, been presented to Israel. Israel's already rejected that peace deal. I think what we're seeing here, or what we've been seeing over the past few weeks, is a bit like a negotiation going on in the souk, if you like, where it's a question of, OK, I'll give you this if you give me that. OK, I'll give you that then as long as you give me this. And it's been pushing up the demands, stacking on the pressure on both sides to try to come up with some kind of final agreement that they can both be in accordance with. So first of all, we have Israel blaming Hamas, saying the only obstacle to peace in the Gaza Strip is Hamas. And then we have Hamas now saying, well, we've accepted this deal, basically putting the pressure on Israel, saying, well, now it's Israel's problem because Israel is the one that is preventing peace from being installed in the Gaza Strip.
But Israel still doesn't seem happy.
No, Israel's not happy, and Israel has already come out with pretty strong statements since yesterday from the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that it's far from Israel's basic requirements and negotiations are going to continue. What we do know is, well, up until yesterday, there was no Israeli delegation in Cairo taking part in those discussions. Israel is now sending a delegation to the peace talks, which is a sign that they really do want to come up with some kind of peace deal as well on the Israeli side to end what is going on in the Gaza Strip. But the big problem for Israel is three problems, a three-pronged problem, if you like, they've got to overcome. The first one is the far right. The far right are saying, we don't want to sign a peace deal with Hamas because Hamas is a terrorist organization, and that's something that you've said you don't want to do because you want to crush them. So we're not going to agree to their peace deal. And if you do agree to it, we're going to withdraw our support of the government, and that will collapse, and that will mean the end of Benjamin Netanyahu being prime minister. Second point is the families of the hostages being held by Hamas in the West Bank. They want them released. They're stacking the pressure on the Israeli prime minister to get those hostages back home as quickly as possible. And the third problem is the international pressure on Israel from the United States saying no ground offensive in Rafah, and also from the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres saying that it would be intolerable if Israel is to launch a ground offensive. So all of those aspects are stacking the pressure on the Israelis to come up with some kind of deal pretty quickly. So I think that this can be seen as a big disappointment that Hamas accepted the deal yesterday, but it's been turned down by Israel. But I think little by little, Stuart, things are moving in the right direction at their own pace.
They might be moving in the right direction at the talks. We've still got things happening on the ground, haven't we? We've had airstrikes overnight on Rafah. We've had Israel taking over the Palestinian side of the Rafah crossing, which is now closed in the last hour or so. Where does this leave, then, Israel's planned invasion of Rafah?
Well, there's something quite interesting going on here, because all the way down the line, we have Joe Biden, the president of the United States, telling the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu that he does not agree with a ground offensive in Gaza. That ground offensive is going ahead. Remember yesterday that Israel was saying 100,000 Palestinians need to get out of Rafah, especially in east of Rafah. Now they apparently the Israelis are taking control of the corridor in the southern part of the Gaza Strip, the Philadelphia corridor, where they say there are tunnels bringing in equipment from Egypt, smuggling in weapons to Gaza. That's where they say the final Gaza hard line Hamas leaders are, and that's why they want to snuff them out. And at the same time, they know that the United States, right the way down the line, has said, yes, we agree that Israel has the right to defend itself. That hasn't changed. And yes, Israel has the right to end the threat that Hamas poses if it were to rebuild its military and begin launching fresh attacks into Israel. So in a way, they know that they have some backing from the United States going ahead with this offensive in Rafah, but not 100% because the US doesn't want to have this cause large amounts of casualties. So I think what the Israelis are doing here is saying, okay, we're going to push ahead. We're trying to make this a small operation. We're trying to get as far as we can to snuff out these 3 or 4 final cells that Hamas are holding on to in Rafah. And this is the way we're going to do it. And then we'll see where that leads us as to signing a final peace accord.
Philip, thanks so much. Philip Turle, International Affairs Editor here on France 24.